Nice, dude. So,
You like my random facts here today? Like sipping on my smoothie. It's the morning. What else should we say? It's like
bringing that quality content.
Welcome to the Up and Away podcast, sponsored by Commerce Hero.
Commerce Hero Daily number 27.
Oh, sorry.
Coming to you.
I just slurped on my smoothie.
Did you?
I hope that wasn't super
Just
distracting.
You just
Killed the mojo.
Killed our whole opening. I came with so much
Dang.
energy
Oh man.
on that one.
I don't know what I'm doing with my life.
It's a good question. What's going on, Steve?
What is going on? It is the morning.
It is the morning. That is
Yes,
true.
Yes.
Nice, dude. So,
You like my random facts here today? Like sipping on my smoothie. It's the morning. What else should we say? It's like
bringing that quality content. Okay, topic of today is everyone hires remote. Show title. And
for some reason I feel like we've done that before. Is this like a
Have
part
we?
two?
we're going to talk about remote a lot. Okay, so if you haven't realized that yet, I hope you do now. But we're going to hit it from a little bit of a different angle this time.
Let's do it.
A little side angle.
Yes.
Okay, so so what I wanted to, so kind of the point is, some companies are big on hiring remote. It's like what they do. Other companies are like, we don't hire remote, we hire local. But the interesting pattern that I've noticed, even among the companies that say we don't hire remote, is there's always this one little exception, at least. They'll be like, yeah, all of our developers are on site in whatever city where they are. And they go, well, there's this one guy who used to work with us in-house, and then, his wife got a job somewhere else. He had to move, and so now he works remotely.
Right. But they
Right.
started off in-house.
They started off in-house. And or that's just one example. That's a common one, but there's other types of things where there'll just be this one exception.
Right. So generally they're saying, well, we don't really hire remote, but we do kind of hire remote.
Yeah. And it's like it's not like they're and those types of companies, they're like, we're not looking to hire remote. We want to hire on site. But they'll have this person that happens to work remote for one reason or another. And so what I think it kind of underscores is that working remote it's not about location at the end of the day. It's about, does the person get work done, and is there trust?
Right.
If there's trust and work getting done, like nobody would turn that down ever. But I think the hesitation is that with one of those two areas, either you're not comfortable hiring somebody remote because you feel like there's not trust, you can't build trust remotely, or you don't know if work's going to get done, that kind of a thing.
Or you just don't vibe with them.
What do you mean by that?
Like they, you don't, like they're I'm thinking of so many different examples of how far down this could go as far as not vibing with someone. But generally,
you could not vibe with somebody in person or remotely, right?
Right. I just mean like maybe their remote personality.
Oh yeah, totally. Just their communication style.
Exactly.
Because if you're working remote, you got to over communicate. You have to work hard to be like positive and upbeat. I was talking to somebody about just your email etiquette. We should do a whole episode on email etiquette.
Yes.
That'd be hilarious.
With screenshots.
So I mean, I just think that's interesting. I just think it's an interesting pattern I see, that essentially everybody, I mean, virtually, I say everybody, but I'm pretty sure almost everybody I've talked to, including the people that are hardcore only on site, big on team culture, big on being all in one place and playing foosball together and doing paintball outings together. they still will have this like, yeah, there's this one person that's remote. So
Well, I mean, do you
that's
is your overall point though that actually it's like even though you may feel opposed in your mind initially, if you think about the different circumstances that could come along, or that someone might need to be remote, it's really not that big a deal, and it does come down to trust. It does come down to them getting work done, and it does come down to just as long as you know that you're getting the value out of what you're paying for, it doesn't matter if it's remote or not.
right. Yeah. I mean, so then for me, I'm thinking of how to reverse engineer the situation that allowed them to feel enough trust with somebody to work remotely. How can you reverse engineer that and say, okay, how can we try to bring somebody else on remote in a similar way? So maybe that means that they come on site initially for a month or for a certain period of time. And so I'm thinking about how to reverse engineer those successful situations where they weren't trying to hire somebody remote, but they ended up doing that.
Right.
That's something that I'm thinking about.
You're thinking about that, like ways that you can set up clients with developers on Commerce Hero so that they can start that
Exactly.
relationship,
Exactly.
just like a trial run kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, that's one idea that I've thought of. Sometimes people will be open to it. I think it could recreate the same dynamics where somebody worked for you in-house, then they moved and now they're remote. Why not just recreate that? Have somebody in-house for a month and, get all that bonding in and team dynamics and all that kind of stuff. And if it works, let them continue on a remote basis. And if it doesn't work, like, hey, you hired somebody as a contractor for a month. Hopefully they got some work done and it didn't work.
Right.
So that's something that I'll sometimes try to encourage.
You saying that actually reminds me. I remember that you used to do that. You used to have that kind of setup with the company, right? Like I would remember you went to somewhere in Canada.
Yeah. I worked for a company called Sweet Tooth in Canada. And I don't think I went on site initially. I worked remote, and then I met them, I think, at Imagine, Magento Imagine. They flew me out there, and I met them there, and then I went to Canada a couple times. And that was great,
Yeah,
That
well, at
worked
least
out really
like
well.
you came there for the bond, just like you said, you came there for the bonding, got to know the team, got some work done, and then you went home and you were like the best remote developer ever.
I tried to do okay, yeah. But yeah, like and I think I also notice patterns of companies that do remote well, and I think a lot of companies that do remote well, they are very intentional about that team building stuff. So we'll have a yearly retreat or some in-person time. So I think that's key. I think that's
Right.
important, and
So-
it's just figuring out how to structure it.
So in terms of you setting up some kind of trial run between the client and the developer, do you think that it's important, or at least a litmus test, so when you bring a developer in to be able to tell, okay, this guy's really weird in person, that means that he will probably not vibe well, even, because it's even harder to communicate, or remotely. Like, do you think that if they don't vibe with you in person, that's a bad sign, or would you say that it doesn't necessarily mean that's the case?
That's a good question. If they don't get I mean, you definitely get a sense for somebody's, and it depends on the type of role. So if you're hiring somebody that's just cranking out code all day long versus somebody that is in more of maybe a team lead role, architect role, client facing, if they're just purely doing development stuff, it's maybe less of an issue. But you do get an accelerated sense of their personality, their
Sure.
style, their communicate, in person. So
Right.
it's a great indicator of what the relationship will look like. And also, I think that the way that you communicate remotely after you've met in person is fundamentally changed. Like, it's fundamentally improved just by the fact that you met them in person. So, even like somebody that, let's say, communicates well remotely, like if there was never any in person, there's a certain amount of like of it being impersonal. Like there's an impersonal relationship there, and maybe somewhere where you might get frustrated or send like a negative response or something like that. When you've had that in-person time, you've bonded, you've had fun together, whatever.
Exactly. Yeah.
It just changes the dynamics in a positive way. So
Like all of a sudden you feel bad to if you were to curse him out or to or to let things get really bad, you would give him more the benefit of the doubt.
totally, there's more trust. There's more of a benefit of the doubt in both directions. Yeah, I think that's key. I think that's clutch.